Reppin' Philly ain't a choice, it's a way of life. PhillyGoat.com is your one stop shop for Philly pride. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Look fresh, stay Philly, Philly Goat. Go Birds. Sure. Yesterday I was pissed. Today, it's bizarre to me. Absolutely bizarre. Bryce was better. Lozardo was not his best, but the ump was not on top of his game early. Lozardo was visibly upset, so I don't know if that helped kind of speed up the unraveling process. He did get tossed after he was already pulled. Told the ump to get it the F together or something like that, or wake the F up. This isn't the minor leagues. I I don't know. I mean, the worst thing about all of this is the fact that you're giving the Mets belief, you're giving them hope, you're giving them the feeling that they can compete and actually take this division. The lead is now down to five. Uh, it, I don't know because it's definitely a mental thing. They cannot beat this team, and they are in their heads up at Citi Field. Now, if they come out today, get that lead back up to six, help exercise slightly some of those demons, maybe I'll feel better. But they are in their heads. They are 100% in their heads. They could beat them in Citizens Bank Park. They won 2 or 3 earlier this year. I guess the saving grace is that there's still a 4-game series with the Mets at Citizens Bank Park later this month or later in September. But I don't know. I don't know what to make of what is wrong up in Citi Field. It's kind of, to me, reminiscent of the early Andy Reid Eagles when they just could not beat the Giants. And it took until I forget what broke through, but even heading into like 2003, they had still struggled with the Giants until B. West uh, took that punt return up in the Meadowlands. But the they need to decide today. They need to I don't know if they need to meditate or just change up their normal routine tonight, but they need to decide what they want to do. Like you can't go on because the way it's shaping up, if the Phillies don't get that 2 seed, they got the Mets first round. The good thing is it will be at Citizens Bank Park, barring a total collapse by the Phillies and the Mets being able to play well against everybody else but the Phillies. But they're not going to be able to get away with this. So I don't know. I mean, and then truthfully, even if the Mets make it out of the wild card round, you got them in a 5-game series or a 7-game series. You're going to have to play at Citi Field, so you need to figure it out. It's absolutely bizarre to me. I've never seen anything like this. I know they don't play well out in San Francisco, but you play so much up in Citi Field compared to San Francisco that they need to get it. I don't know. Wake up. Uh, get it together. Do a seance. Exercise the demons. Get the Ouija boards out. I don't know what they need to do. Call the exorcist. They have to do something to get that bad mojo out of Citi Field with them. Taijuan Walker's on the mound today. I know a lot of people are feeling some type of way about that, but I think if you're going to steal a game in Citi Field, why not go to the former Met? He's used to pitching there. We'll see. I'm not fully confident because I expected them to at least get the Sanchez game. But you know what? Taiwan, I trust you. Let's go get this game tonight and figure it out and come back to Philly with a 6-game lead. But that does lead to today's question of the day. Are you concerned at all with this Phillies team? They were playing so well heading into this. Is it just a Citi Field thing? Is it a Mets thing? Are you worried bigger picture? I don't know. I came in so hyped for this, and I'm not necessarily worried because the next 4 games against the Mets are at home. But man, I do not want to play any postseason games or any games at this point this season at Citi Field. So let me know your thoughts on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Are you worried that the Phillies cannot win at Citi Field? Hit me up on any of my socials, Discord channel, all that good stuff. Discord is the first link in the chat or description, and let's go. I mean, I'm not worried about the team. I'm just worried that they cannot win at Citi Field. The couple other news and notes besides the game. The 2026 schedule was released. A lot of road games in June and July, partly because of the World Cup, partly because of the All-Star game. So they're going to have a front-loaded home schedule to start next year, and then they'll be on the road for a lot of June and July, but that was almost to be expected. And then before the game, Joe Ross was released, and Jordan Romano placed on the IL with middle finger inflammation, and the jokes there just write themselves because I'm sure all of us have middle finger inflammation due to Jordan Romano. So it kind of works out both ways. But Phillies Mets tonight, Taijuan Walker on the mound. Can they steal a game? I mean, it's 9 in a row now. They win this, it feels okay. They went in, they took 2 of 3. They looked better yesterday defensively, minus Bader throwing a ball 10 feet over JT's head, but they showed some fight at least, so I'm going to hang my hat on that, and hopefully they come out and explode similar to the way they did in San Francisco Game 3 after being completely outplayed the first 2 games of that series. All right, the Eagles roster is finalized-ish. The 53-man roster is set. However, Howie said we're not done yet. I don't know what that means. He mentioned they have a lot of draft picks, so I'm sure he's working the phones. Not sure who's available, what's even out there to be had. Going to start building the practice squad. But no real big surprises on who got cut, who didn't, who stayed. I think, like I said, Anais Smith was cut, but I don't necessarily think that was a surprise. But nobody else really caught my eye, like, oh my goodness, that person made the team or that person was cut. So we'll see what Howie has up his sleeve. Some encouraging news on Nakobe Dean's Twitter. He said, see y'all in week 5. So I'm assuming that's he. I don't think they officially announced it, but to me, that means he's going on the PUP list. Will be back for week 5. By all accounts, he looked good running and moving around in camp. So I'm sure it's just building the strength, getting him back up to speed. But that'll be a big boost, especially after having a tough 4 games to start the season. So a little bit of good news there. Hopefully Campbell, Vaughn, and Smell can kind of hold down the fort until Nakobe comes back. And it's not even a guarantee that Kobe's going to get his starting or Nakobe is going to get his starting job back. So we'll see how that plays out. But Eagles gearing up almost a week away from the opener against the Cowboys. And just a quick programming note, working on final details. Not sure exactly when we're going to be recording for that Cowboys game. But the Brotherly Birds breakdown will be available before each game, wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. We're going to do a full pregame show of the Eagles, break down any news from the week, recap the game before, preview, give our 3 keys to the game, as well as any fantasy and betting picks. Might have some special guests along the way, but that will be coming out next week. So stay tuned. The Brotherly Birds breakdown with my brother Kyle every before every Eagles game. I'll probably do something on the bye week too. So that will be available. I'll let you know when that's all posted. Best way to stay in the loop, though, is follow me on all my socials, Jimbo_Mott on Twitter and TikTok, on Instagram at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel because that's where I'm going to be posting it. Follow my brother. I'll get his handles as well. But that way you won't miss an episode as we gear up to defend the crown. Even though they're not defending anything, we're defending the crown. All right, yesterday's trivia question in honor of Bobby Abreu hitting his third Grand Slam of the season. I asked you, who set the Philly, or who has the Phillies single season record for Grand Slam in a season? Lots of people going with Ryan Howard. A few people said Chase Utley. A couple people said Bobby. It wasn't Bobby. It wasn't anybody on the 93 team. You have to go all the way back to 1945. Vince DiMaggio hit 4 Grand Slams for the Phillies in the 1945 season. Brother of Hall of Famer Joe DiMaggio, and just yet another example of a Philadelphia team having the wrong brother. You might remember from a couple years ago, we did It's a Family Affair, where we looked at some of the family ties, and unfortunately, the Phillies tended to have the wrong brother. The Yankees had Joe, we had Vince. Braves had Greg, we had Mike Maddox. So just a prime example of that. But I gave you the housekeeping. That was yesterday's trivia answer. And just want to take a minute. I know this isn't Tuesday, but wanted to say I had to say goodbye to one of my fraternity brothers yesterday. And obviously funerals and things like that are always sad. But just wanted to just remind everybody, life is short. My buddy Paul, he was an older guy in my fraternity, but was one of those guys who you hear people say all the time, never had a bad day. I don't think I've ever seen this dude angry. Never saw him complaining about anything. He was sick, overcame cancer, had some other health ailments, and always looked at the positive. Was always trying to have fun, always trying to make you laugh, always just not necessarily the life of the party, but he had that magnetic personality that you wanted to go to. And we talked yesterday about your surroundings and your situations not necessarily determining your situation. And Paul was a prime example of that. He was able to sort of adapt to the situation. Kind of, we talked about the potato and the egg analogy yesterday. But always had a smile and was genuinely a caring person. And to me, especially if you're going through something, you get to choose. Paul went through all kinds of stuff with his cancer and just other health ailments, but he chose to be positive. He chose to have a sunny outlook. So if you can take anything, it's kind of like a bonus extension of our Tuesday motivation. But Paul, I think, is a good example that we can all follow, where no matter what life throws at you, you take it, you smile, and you figure it out and you deal with it. So rest in peace, Paul. Gonna miss you, especially random showing up at Eagles tailgates as well as Temple tailgates, Temple basketball games. He was always a fixture at Temple Sports. So rest in peace, Paul, and condolences and prayers to the Lucas family, his wife, and his beautiful daughters. So, but just a reminder that life is short, and you can spend your life just being miserable and wallowing in your own sorrow, or you can take life by the balls and say, I'm going to make the best of this, like Paul did. It would have been very easy for a guy like him, with what he had going on health-wise, to just kind of pack it in. But you know what? He was always smiling, always asked about how you were doing, and he made that decision. So rest in peace, Paul. Prayers to his family, but hopefully you can take something away from that little rant. It's one of those things. I have a platform. Sometimes I like to do things like that, but Paul was just one of those guys who didn't let what was going on get him down. He said, I'm going out there, I'm seizing the day, and I think we can all learn a lot from Paul. All right, it's time for our top 5 for the first 25 of the century. continuing our final list here, the top players. We have the Phillies, Sixers, and Eagles left. Here are the top Phillies players since 2000. Some honorable mentions: Roy Halladay, obviously could make a strong case for this list. Cliff Lee, Jason Worth was a great Philly since 2000. Chooch, obviously we talk a lot about him. Pat Burrell, Aaron Nola, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, Zach Wheeler, and of course, everybody loves to hate this guy, but he certainly is in the conversation for best Philly since 2000. That is Bobby Abreu. None of them made the list, though. So here is my top 5 list of Phillies players since the year 2000. Coming in at number 5, Bryce Harper. Obviously, needs to step up now, but Bedlam at the Bank, one of the best clutch playoff performers the Phillies have ever seen. He comes in at number 5. And the rest of the list is going to be a lot of 2008 Phillies, and you tend to have that when you win a World Series. So coming in at number 4, Cole Hamels, the MVP of the NLCS and World Series in 2008. If it wasn't for the umpires completely bungling the rain delay, would have had, I think, 4 wins that entire playoff series. But Cole Hamels, even after that, had a sort of a down year in 2009. But since 2000, one of the best, if not the best. I think it comes down to him or Zach Wheeler from a longevity standpoint of best pitchers since 2000. Coming in at number 3, and this is where the debate will start. I'm going Chase Utley, number 3. And yes, probably the most fan favorite of the group, but I think of the big 3, you certainly can make the argument of which way they go on a list. But I have Utley number 3. I think had his knees held up and he didn't miss some time later in his career, may have been higher. I still think he has an outside shot at the Hall of Fame, even though it seems as though his voting is higher than Jimmy. But for me, he comes in at number 3. Number 2, Ryan Howard, the big piece. Obviously, you want to talk about clutch. So many people talked about the strikeouts, but he felt to me he was just ahead of his time. If you look at the way guys strike out now, Ryan Howard would be right in line with that. I still also think if they changed the shift rules back when he played, his average probably would have been higher. He had so many to 3-person infield on the right side so many times. But just for a stretch there from 06 to 08, this dude was just must watch. Yeah, like Kyle Schwarber now is much watch. Nothing compared to what Ryan Howard was. So he comes in at number 2 on the list. And number 1 for me, and it should be no surprise if you're a loyal listener, the glue that held that team together, Jimmy Rollins, the number 1 player for the Phillies, won the MVP in 07, proclaimed they're the team to beat, and still, to me, the leader of that team. And really, I think you don't win without, and actually the top 4 on this list, you don't win that World Series. But I think they all brought something to the table. They all played off of each other. And like I said, you could argue it would be Howard, Utley, Rollins, Utley, Rollins, Howard, Howard, Rollins, Utley. And I'd buy it. So I think almost this list, they would be 1A, 1B, and 1C. But Jimmy Rollins, Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, Cole Hamels, and Bryce Harper, my list of the top players for the Phillies since 2000. Now it's your turn. Who's too high? Who's too low? Who did I miss? Is there anybody that should have been on there that I didn't put on? A lot of great single seasons, but I think for career, I'm satisfied with this list. But give me your thoughts on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Get that, anything else Philly sports related off your chest. Let's vet and get our frustrations about the Phils out of our system, because we got a game tonight that we got to get up for. Packing up the whole crew for a week down the shore? Don't waste your first day dragging bags and beach chairs. Let Beach Caddy do the work. With bellhop service for move-ins and move-outs, plus beach cart rentals in Ocean City, Avalon, Sea Isle, Stone Harbor, and Wildwood, they've got your back from driveway to dune. Stress less, relax more. Book now at beachcaddy.app. use the promo code Jimbo for 10% off your bellhop or cart rental services. Beach Caddy, because vacation should start when you get there. Best beach carts on the Jersey Shore. Book now at beachcaddy.app. Use the promo code Jimbo for 10% off your order and let Beach Caddy take the stress out of your vacation. All right, it is Wednesday. That means it's time for What If Wednesday, brought to you by Lotwin. Go to lotwin.com for your 3D custom hype chains. I'm working with the guy right now trying to get something together for my son's birthday. But go to Lotwin. They will design your custom 3D hype chains. Fantasy football season is here. Use the promo code TCCPOD to take 10% off of your order. So for today, we're going to stick with the Phillies and had this in line even before the struggles against the Mets. But one of the things, even through last year, and there was rumors at the trade deadline about Reese Hoskins and bringing him back. And today we're going to look at what if the Phillies had re-signed Reese Hoskins. And I think the biggest difference is Bryce goes back to the outfield. So from a defensive standpoint, you're kind of losing something with Reese. Reese was not the greatest defensive first baseman, and Bryce has slowly turned himself into a Gold Glove caliber one. But I think offensively, I think that helps. Gives you a right-handed power bat, which, I mean, if Bader can do what he did last night, that takes care of that. But Reese didn't hit for a good average, but you never knew when he was going to go off for 2-3 homers in a game. Is Nick Castellanos here? Where does that leave Nick Castellanos? Would he have been a trade piece? Would he be the everyday left fielder? And then you're worried about center field. Gives you options there. Would it have made a difference last year? I don't know, because Reese has some good power numbers against the Mets, 17 homers in, I think, 90-some games. But only a 217 average. But you never know. Maybe the combination of he, Bryce, and Castellanos. Well, Castellanos might not have been here, but last year, Bryce and Castellanos were the only ones that really did anything in that Mets series. So you have to think Reese would have provided something, if nothing but protection from those guys. But if he's here, maybe they're able to get more bullpen help because that gives you flexibility with Castellanos. Obviously, you'd have more help on the bench because you'd have guys like Brandon Marsh being able to come off the bench, and we'll see. But I don't know. I think more so than anything, the locker room presence and just what he would bring, those intangibles. He was the leader of that team. You can say what you want about Bryce. Kyle kind of stepped up and has taken over that role. But Reese was the quiet locker room leader. So maybe it makes a difference. I would have liked for them to at least kick the tires at the trade deadline. Maybe they did. Maybe the asking price. But alas, he's in Milwaukee now. Hopefully we'll be seeing them in the postseason at some point. But that is What If Wednesday, brought to you by Lotwin. But let me know what you think. What would have happened if the Phillies brought back Reese Hoskins? Would it have made a difference? Excuse me, last year or this year? I'd have to imagine it somehow it would have played a role in that Mets series last year. And we all know Reese is not a big Mets fan, so it would have brought some of that swagger. And truthfully, with the way they've played the past 2 days at Citi Field, maybe just for that alone, that's what you need. I mean, is Chase Utley available? Put up the bat signal, let him come in and play at Citi Field where he always did well. But let me know your thoughts on Reese. What if the Phillies had re-signed Reese Hoskins last year? How differently would this Phillies team look now? And then don't forget to go to Lotwin for your 3D custom hype chain. Use the promo code TCCPOD to take 10% off of your order. It's an interesting thought, though. Like I said, I don't know. I think, if anything, the swag that team seemed to be missing this year until Duran and Bader came in. Maybe they'd have to be a little bit more edgy. But again, he's not here. But let me know your thoughts on what would have happened if Reese did re-sign. That does lead to today's trivia question, though. Sticking with a Mets theme here. 3 Phillies players have 40 career home runs against the Mets while playing for the Phillies. Bryce Harper has 40 career home runs against the Mets. and only 16 of them have come with the Phillies. So, who are the 3 players with 40 or more home runs in their career versus the Mets? As a member of the Phillies, hit me up on any of my socials, Discord, as well as the Back to the Future voice and text line. All right, and then finally, we're going to close it out with 3 Phillies thoughts today. August 27th. On this day in 1951, the Phillies win both games of a doubleheader against the Reds down at Shibe Park, 2-0 and then 3-0 in Game 2. Game 2, it was the Del Wilber show. Raise your hand if you know who Del Wilber is. I didn't think so. He went 3 for 3 with 3 solo homers as the defending National League champions moved to 500 on the season, and that was the last time they'd be that close to 500. But it was the Del Wilber show on this day in 1951. Hit 3 home runs in Game 2 of a doubleheader against the Reds, accounting for all runs as the Phillies swept the Reds 2-0 and then 3-0. But Del Wilber stole the show. Fast forward to 1980. Phillies beat the Dodgers 4-3. Pete Rose went 3 for 5 with 2 RBI. Lefty Steve Carlton was on the mound that day, pitched 8 innings, gave up 3 runs, 8 strikeouts for his 20th win of the season. First National League pitcher that year to win 20 games. Tug McGraw came in and saved it. Carlton would finish the year with 24 wins, led the league, and he became the last pitcher to throw 300 innings that year. He threw 304 innings in 1980 as the Phillies moved to within 2.5 games of first place. They were about to go on a little run to win the division and move on to a World Series championship. And then finally, going to 2000, with the game tied 1-1 in the bottom of the 10th against the Giants, Bobby Abreu hit a leadoff, walk-off inside the park home run to beat the Giants 2-1. Bobby also accounted for the Phillies' other run that day, hitting a solo shot in the first. I think it was the first. But Bobby Abreu with 2 home runs, 1 solo shot, 1 walk-off inside the park homer as the Phillies beat the Giants 2-1. And there's your Bobby Abreu tribute. It seemed like we were talking a lot about Bobby over the past few weeks, but we hit a walk-off inside the park homer on this day in 2000. Don't forget to check out theclashingconferences.com for information on the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network. We are proud members here at this day in Philly sports history. See how you can join, get involved, get your voice heard. They provide all kinds of other media services. Go to theclashingconferences.com for details. And don't forget, subscribe, review, leave a comment, like, all of that other good stuff. It takes 2 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. All of that stuff helps us get more into circulation. I'm noticing I'm popping up more and more on other videos. So that means we're starting to outsmart the algorithm. So help me out. Like, subscribe, if you can, review, leave a comment, all that other good stuff. On this day in 2000, Bobby Abreu with the walk-off inside the park home run to beat the Giants 2-1. Steve Carlton won his 20th game of the season on this day in 1980. Pete Rose with a big day at the plate. And then in 1951, Del Wilber was the star of the second game of a doubleheader against the Reds, hitting 3 solo shots as the Phillies beat the Reds 3-0 in Game 2 after beating them 2-0 in Game 1. What are your thoughts on this? What if the Phillies had kept Reese Hoskins? Would it have made a difference last year and this year with the team? I think somehow it would have made a positive difference. If for nothing else, just the leadership and just his presence there. Maybe I'm overvaluing Reese. So let me know your thoughts on that, as well as the top 5 Phillies since 2000. Too high, too low? Would you put anybody else in over Bryce or Cole? I think the top 3 are you can't argue that. You can argue the order. But anxious to see your thoughts on that as we finish up our top 5 of the first 25 of the century. We'll have more on any possible Eagles moves and what Howie has up his sleeve, as well as whether or not the Phillies will be able to at least salvage a game in the House of Horrors that is Citi Field. We'll also, later this week, we'll preview, likely tomorrow, some Temple and Villanova football as college football kicks off this week. What do you think? I mean, should we be worried about this team? I'm not worried. Let me rephrase that. I'm not worried that they're going to get to the postseason. I'm just worried about what's going to happen when they get there, especially if they have to play at Citi Field. I think they're all legitimate concerns, but you know the number of a good exorcist? Ship him up to the Phillies clubhouse in Citi Field and let's exorcise the demons. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 27th, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a hump day, and until next time, go Phils. And I'll see you when I see you.